Hi, Meg.
I just have to say, you banged your elbow and you said shit take mushrooms. Can you explain why you said shit take mushrooms?
So we all know that I have a potty mouth, as in my mother listened to the podcast and I was like, what'd you think? And she was like, well,
Raina!
It was really creepy, but you swear a lot. And I said, Mother.
You raised her.
Well, yeah.
Love you, Robin.
No, she does not. My mom does not swear like me. She doesn't like to admit that I came from her because of my potty mouth. But I'm also like, number one, this is a podcast rated explicit for a reason.
We are explicit. So
Raina is
hang
the
on.
reason. Raina is the reason.
Anybody from my work sees this, I am rated explicit. Children are not supposed to be listening to this.
Yeah, children are not supposed to be listening. This is not.
No.
This is not for the kids.
No.
Anywho, and but so I smacked my elbow on my microphone, boom, and I said shit take because I normally say shiitake, like to try and not swear around my kids. So I'll say like, oh, shiitake mushrooms, like when I hurt myself. And Meg had a paint sample on her wall that her dad had. And apparently he didn't know the word shiitake. And so he kept calling it shit take. And so I go to her house and we were looking at the paint samples on the wall. And she was like, it's shit take. And I was like, shit take? You mean shiitake? She's like, no, my dad called it shit take. And I was like,
it's forever and ever will now be shit take mushrooms.
well, now you fucked me up because it's like my one good non-swearing word that I say is shiitake.
Shit take.
I say shiitake mushrooms all the time around my kids. And now I just say shit take because now it's funnier because
That's
of what
hilarious.
your dad said. So.
Hilarious.
All right. Well, for those of you on the YouTubes, you might notice that Meg and I are dressed for the occasion.
Look at this dress,
What,
guys.
Meg, what is the occasion that we're dressed for?
Because we fucking want to.
Because we wanted to, you guys. Because
And if we want to, we will. What is that?
I
Well,
I don't know that.
Because I fucking want to, and if I want to, I will. It's a movie quote. I can't think of it right
Anywho,
now.
but-
Anyway, we are in ball gowns because there's this ball gown that's been in her closet, and I've been dying to put it on my body.
And she like was talking about it and I was like, well, let's just put them on and record in our ball gowns because like why as adults are we not allowed to dress up because we feel like about kids are? Like, you know, how kids run around in Disney princess costumes and like do that. Like, why can't we just have a day where we're like
Olive is Sally from
your child, Meg's youngest daughter, is in a costume of sorts every day.
every day.
Whether
She was
it's Belle,
I'm sorry,
Sally,
Ring a bell.
Sorry, my bad. Ring a bell.
Ring a bell is what she calls
My
her.
favorite too was that when she's in her Sally outfit, it's like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's actually like pants, like kind of like culottes, like or
Yeah, it's like a jumpsuit.
yeah, a jumpsuit, but it's like and culottes. I don't know where that came from, but also I do. And she was so excited because she was like, "Watch my dress! I can cartwheel in it." She was like so excited for all the moves she could do in this
and
dress.
some of them make her go so fast.
Yeah, and super fast.
She's super fast.
She's not restricted by this outfit.
No. And then if there's pockets, woo!
Anyways, so we decided that today we are going to channel our inner child and just
Look at this.
We just felt like dressing up, and this is one of my favorite dresses that I
love
own.
it. There's so much tulle.
And I love
this
the
might
tulle.
be my favorite dress of all time. We might have to find an excuse to go out in this.
I know.
I'm gonna
I don't know what.
chicken out absolutely last minute, but
Man, we'll worry about that later.
I love this dress.
But-
and if I had the appropriate
Brassiere.
Yeah.
But you can't wear a bra with it. That's the problem. It's backless. It's backless, guys. And she was like, "What did you wear with it?" I said, "Not a bra." But she has some Emersons, and I got some little
itty bitty titty committee.
So there's two different situations happening over here. Gravity takes a toll on both of us.
So
but
sorry for all of our listeners. Our last episode that we recorded, we were talking about nursing for a solid 5 minutes.
Were we? Not wasn't that long. Well, let's just lead into our joke then, because here we go. You ready for this?
Yep.
Now that we're on the boob talk, what does one saggy boobie say to the other saggy boob?
Oh God. What?
If we don't get some support, people might think we're nuts.
That was good. That was really
And I found that one before we even decided to dress up, and I just thought it was funny. And then this whole boob conversation has led into it perfectly.
perfectly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyways, all right, get over there, Emersons. Let's get it going.
Hello and welcome to Lunatic Soup, the podcast where we go into all things wild, weird, and unknown. We're your hosts, Meg.
And I'm Raina, ready to brew up some lunatic soup.
Let's go. Okay, I'm excited for this one. The last one we recorded, we were really excited because it was like a pear and passion fruit. That thing was so gross.
It was 20 out of 10 done. It wasn't a good cider.
It wasn't a good cider.
Yeah.
But
Anyways.
this is Portland cider.
And it's a peach tea, you guys.
Peach tea, Northwest apples and peaches steeped in Smith Tea Maker black tea.
All right, let's drink this. I'm
Ready?
excited.
Go. Here we go. We have some really cool square ice. I need to get on the cool ice train. You have some cool ice.
It's because I photograph cocktails for like a lot of my living, so I have to have cool ice. That's like part of my job, is having cool ice.
I like cool ice.
Cool ice is fun. All right, let's try it.
That's good. That's delightful, as you would say.
That tastes like a combo of my two favorite incline tea.
That's really good.
Tastes like peach.
Peach tea cider, 9.5% with Smith Tea Maker black tea.
That is really good, though. I'm really glad that one surpassed the last one.
I'm glad we did that one now instead of.
Oh yeah, second hand.
Would have been.
Yeah, it was. It was
upsetting.
what was meant to be.
Will be.
All right. Well, what are we talking about today, Meg? Oh, she already told me this episode's gonna mess me up, you guys.
I actually wrote this episode last summer when we were at the beach house, like we do every year, except not this year because I have to go to Florida. Anywho's,
Do we say why you're going to Florida? No.
it's for not a great reason. It's not a fun Florida trip, and I have to go. I've had to go twice. Anywho's, so no beach house this year, but last year when we were at the beach house, my husband took the kids down to the beach. I stayed back at the house, and I wrote this episode.
Okay.
This was 7 months ago now.
Mm-hmm. It's been on our schedule on and off too, and you've taken it off a couple times.
Yeah, it just hasn't seemed to fit, but we are trying to get into more conspiracy episodes, so let's just do
your
it.
Tinfoil hats on,
Let's
y'all.
just do it.
Should everyone don their tinfoil hats?
Do it. I mean, technically we're in all silver, so these are our tinfoil dresses.
Yeah, that's why we did this today. Now I remember.
Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, know what I mean. It's from Monty Python.
Of course it is. No, yeah, tinfoil dresses. So we're just reflecting. I mean, deflecting. That's what I meant. You saw me trying to figure out what I said.
I saw the cogs turning.
Didn't turn fast enough.
We are talking about the Montauk Project today. So this is something that you've probably heard quite a bit of. I was actually out there over the summer. My Montauk is on Long Island, and I took pictures. I'll post the pictures of like Montauk this way. And we talked about the Montauk Monster.
Yes.
And so that's like a cryptid that is
that's tying into that.
kind of, but that goes into like Plum Island, like all these conspiracies, all this stuff. But it actually ties into Stranger Things. So the Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges that there was a series of United States government projects conducted at the location now known as Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York.
Okay.
Growing up, fun fact, because I grew up in New York and I would hear this word, Montauk, all the time. The word was Montauk.
Yeah, because everyone says they
Montauk.
They lose the K.
They lose the K. So I always thought it was Montauk. And then I saw all these signs that were with a K. I'm like, what the heck?
Well,
weirdos pronounce things wrong. I'm talking to you, Lisa, my cousin.
Lisa, you just got called out.
Let's see if you're listening, Lisa.
She's going to be like,
Meg? I know Kristen is, and she's going to be laughing right now. So these projects were for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. We're going right down that rabbit hole today, guys.
Oh,
right
shit.
Down. The story of the Montauk Project originated in the Montauk Project series of books by Preston Nichols, which intermixes those stories with stories about the Bulgarian experiment. There's a lot of project. There's a lot of experiments going on here. Like, they're all government things that we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
And they all have names.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Project Paperclip?
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Horrifying.
I will say, so just so if anybody doesn't know this about Meg and I, we are not actually conspiracy theorists by any means.
No.
We both
eat this shit up.
No, that's what I was going to say. We don't sit there and like look at everyday things and like be like, that's not that conspiracy, this conspiracy, that.
Do I think that demons have been unleashed on the world as of last year and the Nephilim are out to get us? No. Will I watch everything regarding that because I think it's freaking hilarious and fascinating? Yes.
But do I look for logic in these things? And when I see logic in some of these, like when you see something so many times, you start to like be like, it could be true. I will never be a person who will look at a conspiracy theory and be like 100% I believe that, because I will always have a shadow of doubt, because I am inherently a believer in like that we live in a good place that wants to protect us and love us. But
bullshit.
Well, yeah, but
I just sent you a TikTok about, was it Unit 731?
Yeah, that was fucked up.
It was about World War II and what Japan actually did during like a bunch of things, and then subsequently what America bought from them. And I don't think I'll ever recover.
Well, I guess we should get into the Montauk Project.
Yeah.
Then.
So we're going to start off with Preston Nichols. Preston B. Nichols was an American author and self-proclaimed former radar technician who claimed to have participated in the Montauk Project, which was a series of secret government experiments conducted at Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York from the 1940s to the 1980s. Nichols claimed that he was recruited into the Montauk Project in the early 70s while working as a radar technician on Camp Hero. He said that he was involved in experiments that used powerful magnets and microwaves to create a field that could bend time and space. Nichols also claimed that he was able to travel through time and space himself and that he met people from the future. Sign me up.
You go.
If I have a chance to know this?
I mean, yes and no.
I want to know.
I feel like I'd want to know, but like, I don't.
I want to know. I want to know everything.
I know you do.
There's no physical evidence to support his claims, and many of the details have been contradicted by other witnesses. However, Nichols' story has persisted and has become a popular topic of discussion among conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts. In addition to the claims about the Montauk Project, Nichols also wrote about other topics, including UFOs, psychic phenomena, and government mind control. He published several books about his experiences, including the Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, Montauk Revisited, Adventures in Synchronicity, and the Philadelphia Experiment, Project Invisibility. The Montauk Project can date back to the Philadelphia Experiment, which is another conspiracy theory that alleges the United States Navy conducted a secret experiment in 1943 that rendered the USS Eldridge invisible. Some people believe that the Montauk Project was a continuation of the Philadelphia Experiment and that the two projects were connected.
Okay.
So let's go into the Philadelphia Experiment first. You may know this one.
I'm just like, what is it still? I don't get what it is.
We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
It's a build-up. It's a slow burn.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Experiment is a conspiracy theory that alleges that the United States Navy conducted a secret experiment in 1943 that rendered the USS Eldridge invisible. The experiment is said to have been conducted at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia, PA. The story of the Philadelphia experiment originated in the 1950s when two men, Morris Jessup and Al Balick, came forward with claims that they had been involved in the experiment. Jessup was an astronomer and UFO researcher, and Balick was a self-proclaimed Navy officer. Jessup and Balick claimed that the experiment was part of a secret government project to develop invisibility cloaks for ships. They said that the experiment was successful, but that it had unintended consequences. The ship was said to have become invisible, but it also lost its mass and was briefly teleported to another location. This is said to have taken place.
Like the Navy said this happened.
No. People involved with the experiment said it had taken place.
Okay.
So here are some of the most common claims about the Philadelphia experiment. The USS Eldridge was rendered invisible by a powerful magnetic field. The ship was teleported to another location. They think Norfolk, Virginia. Norfolk.
I mean, I don't know. I was just throwing it out there.
I have had it come down on me
Norfolk.
About the way that I pronounce things. Okay, Norfolk.
Potato, tomato.
Apricot, apricot.
Yep.
Some crew members were fused into the ship's hull, while others were exposed to radiation and suffered from mental disorder. So they're saying that the ship, when exposed, teleported, and then when it came back, like
it was fucked up.
It was fucked up, as in some people's top halves were on one floor and bottom halves were hanging out of the roof from the other floor, the ceiling from the other floor.
So they dead?
I mean, I don't think they were dead. I think they had to get cut out. Like they were fused into the walls. When it reappeared,
got it. But it didn't go like through them.
No.
Okay, got it.
Fused within it.
Okay.
The experiment was a success, but it also shut down because of the consequences. When the ship reappeared in the Philadelphia shipyard, the crew reappeared with it. However, they materialized within the walls, stuck between floors, and 2 crew members did not materialize at all.
Okay.
They gone. The 2 men happened to be brothers, and they were thought to be dead, but in fact, they weren't. They allegedly traveled 40 years into the future to a military base on the eastern tip of Long Island and became participants in the Montauk Project. Preston Nichols claimed to have worked as a radar technician at Camp Hero in 1967 to 1983. He said that he was recruited into the Montauk Project in the early 70s and that he was involved in experiments that used powerful magnetics and microwaves to create a field that could bend time and space. Nichols also claimed that he was able to travel through time and space himself, and he met people from the future. Preston was working on telepathy and was having success. He discovered that telepathy behaves much like a radio. However, the same time every day, his subject's mind would be blocked, and he had no idea why.
Okay.
So he was doing all these experiments saying, yeah, it worked, but for whatever reason, the same time every day, it didn't work.
Okay.
He decided to bring in some equipment to read the radio signals, and when the waves reached 410 to 420 megahertz, the signals would be jammed. After 20 minutes, the signals would dissipate, and the psychic's abilities would open back up. So there's a certain frequency in which psychic abilities would not work.
I mean, I feel like that makes sense.
There's a lot about like megahertz and like radio waves, and I'm not gonna lie, there's sometimes I have pretty debilitating anxiety, and I've seen some things where you listen to things on a certain frequency or bilateral sounds, and I'll put them on and they help. Maybe it's a placebo,
do that too.
But
no, it's not. Do you know what's written into the CIA documents that were released about like mind things, like actual CIA things about how powerful your mind is, and frequencies and all of that, like that has been released. Like basically, manifestation. The CIA has studied basically that. Like, but in what class did we take when we went away to the Ghost Conference?
Remote viewing.
Yep. That stuff.
Yes.
And that was proven to be true.
Yes.
No, it's like it has come out in CIA documents in the last like 2 or 3 years. It's proven to be true. People just have to like read it. So if you don't believe it, go look for the CIA documents about megahertz, like listening to different waves on being things, and then also like how powerful your mind is. It's wild. It's wild.
Well, it's just the fact that we use so little of our brain, and like I know specifically some people who unfortunately are missing parts of their brain, and you would never know it.
Who?
We'll talk about that later. But I know 2 people who are missing, like they've had to have parts of their brain surgically removed for
lobotomies.
No, not lobotomies, like for actual medical reasons. And
they're
like,
still functioning.
You could function with half a brain, and you would never know.
Well, yeah, because you don't use half of it.
It's insane to me.
You use like not even a quarter of your brain? Not even?
I don't even think that. It's insane to me. Imagine if you used your full brain. And then that's when people think you're absolutely batshit crazy because you function at a different way that other people function. And
I think that's what always gets me, is that like when you have different like abilities or things and people don't believe in it, and that's fine. But I'm like, y'all are just not tapped into that side of your brain.
It's insane. It's insane. The things that we have yet to understand, which I think the government already knows, like for sure.
I'm telling you, look up the CIA shit. It is like there are documents you can pull online because they had to release them after a certain amount of time. It's like legit stuff. I read through a bunch of them.
This goes back to, unfortunately, this goes back to like the 1940s, and like Hitler was studying all this shit.
Yeah, but you think that who we are today is not completely like manipulated by things that they discovered early on?
No, I know it is. And after what I talked about earlier, that TikTok I sent you about Unit 731, like I'm so disgusted, and like I don't believe anybody or anything anymore.
Same.
Let alone the government. So anyway, the signals were jammed, but after about 20 minutes, the signals would dissipate and the psychic's abilities would open back up. So he traced the signal that was blocking the psychic's abilities to a radio tower on base. The radio interference continued for a few years and then stopped. One day, his friend contacted him and said that the military base was now abandoned and he should go check it out.
That sounds like a fun, not good idea.
So he went to the military base. It was abandoned, but it was a mess, which is unusual in military shutdowns because they're usually pretty orderly, right? It was as if they cleared out fast. Remember, this is what Stranger Things is based on.
Oh, no. Dang it. I forgot.
They found a young man who was homeless and living in one of the abandoned buildings. He was nervous. He said he was a military tech that worked there, but he had to abandon his post when a large beast appeared and started destroying the, quote, project. So they had to shut everything down.
Was it Vecna?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Vecna's real?
Preston asked what he meant by a project and what he meant by a beast. The homeless man looked at him in a confused look and said, "You don't remember? You're Preston Nichols. You ran the Montauk Project." In 1984, Preston began working with a very gifted psychic and brought him to the base. His name was Duncan Cameron. Duncan knew his way around the camp, like where the barracks were and the mess hall and all this stuff. Duncan began talking about a bunch of disturbing experiments that had been happening on the property, and Duncan realized that he was part of them. So now all these memories are coming back. He walked into a building and went into a trance. He said he was programmed. They befriended him and then tried to kill him. He said that they succeeded in killing him, and when he was killed, he was supposed to come back and destroy the lab and his research. He talked to Nichols, who brought him back to the lab, and he used deprogramming techniques to give Duncan his consciousness back. After working together, Preston realized he was part of the Montauk Project as well, just didn't know to what aspect. The look on your face right now.
Because it's so much mind manipulation, and they don't realize that they were enduring it.
Yeah.
And that's...
I'm going to warn you, Raina. This
is it getting worse?
This is a really... I think there's a reason that it's taken me so long to talk about this project.
Okay. Are we going to get murdered after we release this?
Probably.
Okay, let's go.
More of Duncan's memories came back over time, and he realized he served on the USS Eldridge, which was part of the Philadelphia Project, the ship, with his brother Edward. These were the two men who had gone missing with the ship and reappeared in the Philadelphia harbor.
Okay.
Even though the Philadelphia experiment took place in 1943, Duncan and his brother Edward had been transported through time to 1983, 40 years later. So they're now remembering that they were a part of the Philadelphia experiment.
Also, imagine going from the 40s to the 80s. That'll fuck you up real fast.
It's a lot more fashionable. Did you know?
I don't know what it is.
Hang on. The 40s is to the 80s. What the 80s is to us.
But also, I was born in the 80s, so that's okay.
So old.
But not that old.
But still pretty damn old.
Yeah, I'm old.
You're older than me.
Oh, shut the hell up. I don't know. Maybe we should have done this one first. I feel like we should have done this one first. My brain is struggling to connect. Okay, go.
Preston began to notice strange things. He was being recognized by people he didn't know, and he was receiving mail at the military base, even though he didn't recall ever working there.
So this is in the 80s.
Yes.
Now, okay.
One day, Nichols was sitting down at his desk and he felt his hand hurting. He looked down and saw that he had a fresh wound with a Band-Aid on it, something he didn't have a few minutes earlier. This happened multiple times. Preston eventually went to the staff nurse and asked if he had come down for a bandage before, and she said no. As time went on, Preston began to realize that he was living 2 different lives at one time. Just giving you a second to catch up.
Fuck. Okay.
He wanted to visit the basement of the base, even though he did not have the clearance to do so. He went to the basement and walked up to the security guard. The guard gave him a badge with his name and waved him through. Somehow Preston knew where he was going, found an office and on the nameplate at the desk it read Preston Nichols, Assistant Project Director. He had proof that now that he was living 2 lives, one as a tech upstairs and one as a senior member of the Montauk Project. But he had no recollection in between the 2.
How?
Fuck if I know.
But he also had been on the sub in the 40s?
That was Duncan.
Oh, that was Duncan.
Who he was talking to.
Got it.
He doesn't know if he had been on the sub.
Yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
In 1990, all of Preston's memories of the project had come back. 50 years after the Philadelphia experiment, a man named Al Balick began to have memories of living a life as Edward Cameron. Remember Duncan said he had a brother named Edward?
Yeah.
Now a man named Al Balick began to have memories of living a life as Edward. He remembered being on the USS Eldridge with his brother Duncan Cameron, who was the psychic that Preston Nichols was working with. Balick began writing books and giving talks about his life as Edward Cameron. He remembered that when on the USS Eldridge, when he was on the USS Eldridge and it began to transport to another location, he and his brother jumped ship. And when they landed, they were in the year 2137.
What?
Edward woke up in a hospital and was being treated for radiation poisoning, and he did not know where Duncan was. He began to learn about what the world looked like at this point in time. He said that Florida and most eastern seaboard states were underwater. California is a series of islands, and all of the Great Lakes have turned into one giant lake. There was a nuclear war between the West and Russia and China. The world's population is 3 million. Do you know what the world's population is right now?
A lot more than 3 million.
7.8 billion. So in about 110 years from now,
we're all going to die.
Well, we will for sure. I mean, but we're not going to be alive in 110 years.
But my children.
They're not going to be alive in 110 years.
My grandchildren.
Possibly.
I mean, strong chance.
But according to this, no.
I think the part that freaks me out the most is that when you see them, there's a big map going around right now, conspiracy theory-ish, we'll call it, of what is going to happen because of global warming, which I don't think is
going to sink into the sea.
Yeah, which is not global warming, but it's showing how much of the U.S. is going to be underwater, and it's exactly what he just said.
No, that's global warming.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I mean, that could be considered conspiracy by some.
Global warming?
Yeah, by like crazy people.
There was this person who I shall not name.
Okay.
Who thinks global warming is a bunch of malarkey. Mm-hmm. And a few years ago, they were down in Florida. And they were walking along the beach. And they were talking to me in the middle of winter saying, it's crazy how warm it's been. And I said, yeah, it's been here too. It's been a really warm winter. And they're like, yeah, it's been everywhere across the U.S. It's been warmer than usual. It's really weird. And I'm like, yeah, it's like the globe is warming or the climate is changing. And then I got scolded.
Was it?
But I got my point across.
Good. Okay, but you guys, so with what she's saying is that it is legit, like people think that is the case, or maybe you do, but do you know that this last year was the warmest year planet Earth has ever experienced on record?
How do you know that? Were you around 1 billion years ago? Oh, wait, it's Earth's only 5,000 years old. Were you around 4,000 years ago?
No, but there's apparently smart people who said it. That's what I heard.
I tried to not make sense there. I think I succeeded.
I think you did. But the smart people who study the earth said that, so I assume it's right.
They're idiots. Idiots.
She's joking.
I'm joking, guys.
Guys, it was a joke.
You know, I do sometimes wonder with my online presence that people think that I believe certain things that I talk about. It's not that I believe them. I just think that everything deserves to be talked about and discussed.
Yeah. But what do we talk about that shouldn't be?
Antarctica, flat earth theory.
Well, flat earth, I don't believe in flat earth, but
no.
I believe Antarctica is something.
I believe that we put things into a little box, and what if something can be true, but not in the way that you're thinking?
Okay, but I 100% will call myself a conspiracy theorist for Antarctica. For like the fact that Antarctica has something going on there that we don't know about. I don't know what.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I don't know what, but there's something
there. I
there.
want these other worlds beyond the ice wall.
Would I love it to be like what we thought it was with the worlds, with like the giants and the leprechauns and the Bigfoots and the whatever? That's what I want it to be. Do I know that? No. But do I think Antarctica is, do I believe it's probably a portal of some sort or a airport or there is.
I love the airport theory.
So do I. There's something in Antarctica.
Let's go.
Who knows?
I think it's a lot of money to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, but we'll figure that out later.
Okay, we'll go.
Yeah.
Most governments were gone, including U.S. and Canada. Most places were run by martial law. Preston suddenly was transported into the future to 2749, and he spent 2 years living in this time. The biggest change was anti-gravity technology, which let people live in floating cities, and cities were run by AI. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I do for sure see AI running things. Okay, Jeffrey.
AI is already running my life. I just got a bunch of shit taken off of my like published books that I have because AI flagged the images as not my own. They're the ones that they're my images. So now I'm fighting with Amazon, being like, I will show you whatever you need. These are my photos. I took them, and so I'm in fight because AI flagged them as not mine.
So we need to have my friend Jeffrey on the podcast for sure, because him and I were discussing like there's these ideas of AI. How do we fight it or do we let it happen? Because ultimately, is it already in control?
Well, probably is, and we just don't realize it.
Have you ever seen the movie The Matrix?
Yes, I have. That's terrifying.
He said that human life was easy if you contributed to society. AI handled farming and all food production. People were mindless and lost their uniqueness. No witches around here.
Damn.
After 2 years, he began to feel a shift, like he was going to transport through time again. This time he ended up in 1983, and his brother Duncan was there. They were briefed by government officials and told to never discuss what had happened to them. He was told to change his identity to Al Balick. In 1990, Duncan and Preston Nichols now had full memories of the Philadelphia and Montauk Project. In 1967, stories about time travel and teleportation were kind of getting popular, and things surrounding the Philadelphia Project were found that all men aboard the USS Eldridge were susceptible to mind control. So this was something that was kind of happening, and they discovered that people who were a part of these certain experiments were susceptible to mind control. Now, did the government specifically pick these people and put them on these projects because they were susceptible to mind control?
Possibly, but
the U.S. wanted to be able to use this technology to create military that could control the minds of the enemy. So they wanted to try to figure out how to control minds to get the enemy to not fight so that they would win.
Understandable.
Scientists on this experiment were excited to start the experiments on time travel and teleportation, but they needed to find a location. Montauk Air Force Base was the perfect place. It was remote and already had all the equipment that they would need, including the largest radar antenna in the world. So you know in Stranger Things when they have that antenna in the first season that Winona Ryder's like, it's moving, blah, blah, blah. That's real.
I keep forgetting that we're going back to Stranger Things, and now it just freaks me out even more every time I realize that.
This antenna could broadcast for hundreds of miles, and they wanted to get it working to be able to control the minds of all those who were within the limits of the broadcast. The Montauk experiment was born. Is that the song?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. It's close.
Since Duncan Cameron held very high psychic powers, he was essential to these experiments. He could withstand very high amounts of electromagnetic energy, and he needed this high tolerance to be able to withstand the Montauk chair. The Montauk chair was a mind-reading device. It was a large metal chair covered with wires and sensors, receivers, channels, and a supercomputer. The idea was that anyone who sat in the chair had their psychic abilities amplified. The images that were in the psychic's mind would display on the computer. They began to electrocute Duncan with different amounts of electricity to see what would happen, and the different frequencies brought out different emotions, and specific frequencies made Duncan fall asleep. Animals in the area were affected by the transmission. Some deer would run into town and throw themselves into shop windows. They began to experiment on what they called the seeing eye. What am I automatically thinking of?
I mean, I'm thinking of that movie that with Julia Roberts just came out. Is that not what you're thinking of?
Oh no, I was going back to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, we know that.
Duncan would hold someone's hair or personal item, and he was able to see through their eyes, hear through their ears, and feel whatever emotions the person was having. The idea was that he could do this with anyone on the planet. With this technology, the project was a success in being able to control anyone's mind.
Dang.
With this equipment, they could put information or commands into individuals' mind. Essentially, they could make people do whatever they wanted, whether it was to assassinate or use themselves as sacrifice. Over time, Duncan began to be able to make objects appear with his mind. If he thought of an object, the object would appear on the computer screen, then as a holograph, and then as a physical object. This led to the main experiment. With this technology, they wanted to create a vortex that a person could step into and be transported to another time. There was a doctor named Dr. John Van Neumann who was a scientist within the field of quantum mechanics, and he was a brilliant mathematician. The U.S. put him to work on a lot of government projects. It was thought that he died in 1958, but that maybe that was all a cover-up. The government put him into hiding to keep their secrets, but Duncan was able to find him. He discussed what they were doing in the Montauk experiment and how it was connected to the Philadelphia experiment. The Dr. Van Neumann said he had been waiting 40 years to have this conversation. He said that when the crew of the USS Eldridge had all died, he had figured out how to avoid that from happening again. So where the Philadelphia experiment was successful, but also not, he figured out how to make it successful.
Okay.
A power generator had malfunctioned in the Philadelphia experiment and caused the men to die on the ship. So they did ultimately die.
Oh, they did?
They did ultimately die.
Oh.
Yeah, because, yeah. Wah, wah.
I said it earlier. You told me no.
Yeah, I forgot. He wanted to go back in time and fix the malfunction and make the experiment a success. Al Bielek and Duncan Cameron were selected to go. They were the two that had traveled through time, who were essentially the two survivors of the Philadelphia experiment. But they had been, ping-ponging through time.
Just pinging around.
Yep.
Bouncing from place to place.
Yep.
Literally.
Van Neumann told them they had already been successful. He told them that they had already gone through time and created a portal within the Montauk Project that led them back to the USS Eldridge, which the brothers used to jump back on the ship and disable the power generator that malfunctioned. You following me?
Yeah, I think.
Edward had decided to stay in 1943 when they went back.
Yeah.
Duncan jumped back through time to the Montauk, but because he had jumped through time so much, this caused him to age rapidly, and he was dying of old age. I don't know how time travel works. Now,
I think you've lost me.
Follow me here.
No,
I literally wrote in here, Raina, follow me.
Oh, God. Okay, Raina needs like 3 less ciders to follow you right now, so hang on. Let me massage my brain. Hang on. All right, brain, wake up. Okay.
Okay.
You got to be slow with me because I don't know where this is going to go. Okay.
Duncan came back.
Okay, Duncan comes back. Old as balls.
Because Duncan was linked to so many important instances in time.
Yep.
If he dies now during the Montauk experiment, This could create paradoxes that mess up the timeline.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay. They decided to use the Montauk technology to send a message through time to Duncan's father, Duncan Sr. Now, Duncan's father had only had one child at this point, who was a daughter. He was instructed to have more children, 2 of whom would be boys. Duncan Jr. was born in 1951, and the Montauk scientists used the boy as a vessel for Duncan's current electromagnetic signal.
I thought he was going to tell him, don't have any more kids, or if you do, kill him.
Not quite.
Oh, fuck.
Not quite. Have you read or seen Poor Things?
Mm-mm.
So it's a book, and then they just made it into a movie with Emma Stone.
Oh,
where they put the baby brain, baby brain into the adult
body.
It seems like this time they're putting the adult into the baby.
So like it's real things happening from movies, but reverse. I don't know.
I don't know at this point. Using similar technology, Edward's consciousness was installed in a young man named Al Bielek.
Okay, but not Duncan.
No, Duncan was put into himself as a baby.
Okay, and then
Edward was put into a man named Al Bielek.
Okay.
Who he currently was.
Wait, how was he? That?
Al Bielek got memories back as being Edward, who was on the USS Eldridge.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. In order to save the timeline, now I feel like I'm in the Loki series. In order to save the timeline, they had to go back in time and find babies to put their consciousness into so that they would continue. Simple.
Uh-huh.
This is hard to follow because of all this time jumping and paradoxes.
Wait. Okay, go.
I feel like this would be a really good movie.
I mean, if maybe they don't do it because it's real, but then that's even freakier because I can't keep up with this. Maybe that's why they know they made us all dumb, so we can't keep up.
Maybe.
How did you write this?
I have no idea.
Because you're not dumb.
Well, Nichols, 1983 now, he was struggling to keep track of all of this, and he was wondering if he was doing more harm than good because the project was creating all of these paradoxes that relied so much on one another that it was so easy for something to go wrong.
No shit, sir.
So he wanted to shut down the program.
That makes sense because you have to keep everything like
perfect.
Because if someone does something that fucks up another, which also like you don't like the fact that this is all like could be a reality that you see these things in movies where if you fuck something up in a future timeline, or at a past or whatever. Anything.
Where he's holding the picture and he starts to disappear.
Time Traveler's Wife. Did you ever watch that movie or read that book?
Yeah, that was good.
I
like that.
Read that book. I'll never forget. I was reading it on a big boat in Tahiti, and I remember sitting there and I was sobbing hysterically.
Oh, in Tahiti.
That was the worst.
Were you crying?
I was crying so hard in Tahiti. And all my sisters thought something was really wrong with me because I had just gotten engaged to Tex, and everyone thought something was wrong with me. And I was like, no.
Bastard, what did he do?
Who knows? But it was just the Time Traveler's Wife. Just fucked.
That was a really good story.
And that was one of those books that like shook me to my, like, it fucked me. It was so, and every time I watched the movie.
I never read the book. I watched the movie.
The book was so good. And I don't read.
I'll have to put it on my list.
It was really, but you like modern day.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you liked the movie, you would love the book. Obviously, it's just like better. Because it's a book.
I have a whole stack of books on my nightstand that I have to get through.
I gave her my Audible password, so she's listening to my Audibles now. So
I'm listening to one.
She's going to listen to more.
Probably.
You are. You have to.
I'm listening to House of
Sky and Breath.
It's so good.
Like I said, it was.
It's so good. As I'm working out in the garden or cleaning the house, I'm just listening away.
That's how I be productive. Is I can't listen unless I'm doing something.
I only have 6 hours left.
Yeah. Oh, damn!
So
it's like
excited.
a 24-hour book. So that's.
I listen at 2.5 speed.
I don't. But next is Fourth Wing.
I will do Fourth Wing next.
You haven't done it at all, have you?
I've read like the first few chapters, but it's so much and so intimidating that I'm like, I got better shit to do.
But so is Sky and Breath. When you look at that book,
right? Which is why I have to listen to it.
Yeah, I'm currently re-listening to Fourth Wing, and I'm like, I already know the story. To that. But it's really good.
I'll listen to that next.
You should.
Make some dragon hot cocktails.
Also, wait, Mr. Boo Boo is currently listening to Akatar.
I hope
you guys, if you know Akatar, if you know
keep
anything
your mouth
about it,
shut, Meg.
Shut up. But I told him that every time he has a theory or something he wants to tell me about it, he has to let me record him saying it so I can piece together as he like goes through the series. And I won't say more than that because if you have not read the series, you don't understand.
It's a wild ride.
Because I will never forget telling Meg and our friend Carrie and Jess my theory on that book. And we were all driving together and them all just being silent. And I'm sitting there like, I'm clearly missing something. And then I got to the next book and I was like,
oh. So he wanted to shut down the project and he installed a fail-safe to shut down the project in Duncan's mine when he was in the Montauk chair. Someone had to walk up to him and whispered, "The time is now." It worked, but it did not go well. When Duncan heard that, a monster came out of his subconscious somewhere on the base. Preston Nichols described it as a large and hairy beast with great strength. It began to tear through the base, destroying everything. They ordered power generators to shut down, but it did nothing.
Wait, it came out of his brain? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because remember, he was thinking of an apple and it would appear.
So he thought of a monster and it appeared.
But is it appearing from another dimension?
I don't know.
The monster continued to destroy the base, and they had the main power from the utility company shut down, but it still didn't stop the creature. The power was still on, being generated from somewhere. Preston went to the main power station on base and began to rip out power cords. The transmitter stopped, but the power remained on. He could hear screaming from around the base while doing this, and he began to tear and cut cords, doing everything he can to destroy the machine, but it wasn't working. Continued on. Eventually, the portal starting to close along with the creature. He thought this was the end of it, but now they discovered that the government had the capacity to bend time.
I don't like it.
The Montauk Project ran from 1970s to 1983. Many say that this is untrue, but there are a lot who say it is because the project was so large, they had a lot of people coming and going. Most of them were young boys who became known as the Montauk Boys. They were usually runaways and taken from troubled homes. Think back to 11. One was named Stuart Swerdlow. He recalls having vivid dreams about waking up strapped to a hospital bed with strangers looking at him. He said the room was dark and damp and the walls looked like rock. One of the goals of the Montauk Project was to create an army of psychic children who could control the minds of whoever they wanted. They could carry out events whenever they were activated and then not remember anything after. Some people blamed instances such as Columbine and the Oklahoma City bombing on the Montauk Boys being activated. To get the boys ready for the programming, their minds had to be broken down. They were starved, submerged in cold water, and received electric shock until the child was broken down enough to program. One man came forward saying that he was a Montauk boy. He said he was forced to take LSD, which that's something that we know the government did.
Yeah.
Another said his body was used as a generator to feed psychics in the Montauk chair. Unfortunately, many of these boys did not survive, and they said to be buried around the base. The experiment affected everything in the surrounding area of Long Island. TV signals and radios were disrupted. Animals behaved strangely. In 2008, a strange animal washed up on shore on a beach, and it was called the Montauk Monster. We talked about this.
Yep.
Plum Island, animal experiments, biological weapons, hybrid humans, blah, blah, blah. A boy named Christopher was 8 years old in 1983, and he was playing on the shores of Montauk. He found metal objects in the sand and dug them out. He was bringing them back to his family and asked what they were. When he was on his way back, he was stopped by a man in military uniform who began to chase him off the beach. This created a lifelong obsession with Christopher, and he has traveled to Camp Hero many times. Officially, the Montauk Air Force Base is not supposed to have any underground facilities. That is a load of crap. Christopher has found many manhole covers. They could be used for drainage, but one day Christopher brought a geophysicist with him and they brought imaging equipment. They discovered a large concrete building buried 20 feet underground.
Shocker.
Over the years, people have gone into buildings at Camp Hero, some with video. These videos have showed that indeed there were underground buildings that were filled with concrete. One person found receipts from the late 1980s that showed over $80,000 a week on food. That's a lot of food who was shut.
Yeah.
If the base was shut down...
$80,000 a week?
$80,000 a week. This was in the mid-'80s. The base had supposedly been shut down in 1981. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That was not shut down. All these people claim to be part of the same experiment, yet the U.S. government denies all of it. Of course they do.
What's new?
Honestly, if they deny it, I'm more likely to believe it.
I agree.
One recording, you hear a woman saying that a Dr. Green was using her as a mind control subject from 1966 to 1973. His objective was to gain control of... Sorry, this is a quote of the child. The objective was to gain control of my mind and train me to be an assassin. The next year, I was sent to a lodge in Maryland called Deep Creek Cavern. I was trained how to sexually please men. I was taught how to coerce these men into talking about themselves. This was a young lady. Preston Nichols wrote a book about his experiments in 1992. A lot of pop culture things we know take a note from this book, including the show Stranger Things, which the original title of that show was Montauk. Now, to disprove all of this, there is no record of Edward Cameron, Duncan Cameron, or Al Bielek on the USS Eldridge, or brothers with the name on any ship in the Navy. Could the government have erased the documents? They totally could have.
Right.
Bielek had no memory of the Philadelphia experiment until he was in the movie with the same name. He was watching the movie with the same name in 1984, and he claimed the movie brought back his memories. Mm-hmm. He also struggled a lot with psychological problems. He died in 2007. Many people who have read his work and seen him give speeches at conventions believe his story and claim that the government was trying to erase or cover up the Montauk Project. Nichols said that the experiment took place 10 stories below ground. However, that is kind of impossible in the area because of all the sand. You can't go down that deep. But they also said that they already found... Well, they found large buildings below ground, but not 10 stories down. Maybe when he's down there, you just don't know how low you are. Or maybe he goes into another dimension.
10 stories is really far, though.
10 stories is really far. That could have just been like a flippant remark.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or if it is interdimensional travel.
Could be.
You know,
a portal.
A portal.
If you will.
Preston Nichols said he used deprogramming techniques on Duncan Cameron, and he explains all of that in his book. Now, this is a believable story in the reasoning that all these things have been recorded happening.
Okay.
People being taken against their will and drugged, kidnapping, torture. I mean, look at Project MK Ultra.
Yeah.
They've been experimented on, all sorts of nasty, horrible things. It's like in the movie or the TV show The Handmaid's Tale in the book.
No,
everything.
I didn't read the book, but I don't want to.
It's exactly like the first season.
Okay,
like to a T. But
lovely.
Margaret Atwood drew everything from something that had happened somewhere within the world.
That's what I heard, and that's I think what's terrifying. I think what's also terrifying, and like, you know, there is shit going on right now coming out in the media, or little things at a time that are like small, but about like things happening to kids and whatever that maybe we're not aware of. And I think things are just going to start getting scarier and scarier, and things like this story are going to become more of reality than what we like to admit.
And it's not new.
No, it's not new. It's just been hidden.
It's been hidden, and now we have access to everything.
Told you, Age of Aquarius is all coming out.
This is the dawning of the...
When did I say it? Was that last episode? Was this this episode?
Nobody
when did
knows.
I say it? Who knows?
Nobody knows.
Okay, well, anyways.
I think that episode already aired, but...
Yeah, still.
Anywho's.
Yeah, shit's going to start coming out.
Shit's getting weird, man.
People are going to get in a lot of troubles.
Not me, though.
Not me either. Unless they don't like that we're talking about it, then that's... Uh-oh. If we disappear...
Dun, dun, dun.
We know what happened. It was the government.
I want to become like Fox Mulder.
Who the fuck is that?
Are you kidding me? You make fun of me for like not knowing these references, and you don't know who Fox Mulder is?
What is... Do you have to...
The X-Files.
Oh. Okay, I do know that.
Yeah.
Okay, I do. That's a lie. I did know that.
That's who I want to be.
I just thought it was like, I thought it was something fucking Lord of the Rings again, or like fucking Toad and Fox, or I don't know. What is it? Toad and, I don't know what that is.
Frog and Toad.
Whatever. The things that come out of your mouth sometimes I don't
leave
understand.
the Lord of the Rings out of this.
I left the Lord of the Rings out of it.
Out of your filthy mouth.
I may have been talking to a book publisher, and they may have told me there's already a Lord of the Rings cocktail book, so I don't think I can do one.
What about The Hobbit?
Unsure.
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
We would be able to put Mr. Boo Boo's feet in it, like a hobbit foot next to a cocktail, make it super appetizing.
I like it. Ooh.
You said I like it. That regretted so fast.
I didn't even finish the statement, and I had to stop myself.
No, you're like, just kidding. I don't like that at all.
Don't like that.
Hobbits?
That's pretty good.
Was that what I did last time? I'm proud of myself.
You have a Hobbit hole backdrop.
I know.
It's almost done, man.
I know. Makes Hobbit hole so good, you guys. So good.
I keep bringing it up because I'm so excited.
I mean, it's pretty legit. We're going to post pictures. Don't worry, guys.
You got to paint pictures on it or flowers on it.
Yeah.
It's all that time you have on your hands.
One day. Give me some wine. It'll be fine.
Al Bielek claimed to have been a Navy officer who was involved in the Philadelphia experiments in 1943. He said that he was transported to the future and then back to the present day, where he was recruited for the Montauk Project. Bielek claimed that he was involved in experiments that set the reality for time travel and alternate reality.
Wasn't Al Bielek the guy who's like born one person, then he was put in another person's body that you said earlier? Okay.
So all these people are supposed proof
of it.
Of all of that.
I think that we know throughout history and through different things, just because it's not written down, because someone can delete something written, can erase, can get rid of.
Well, I mean, the government can cover up absolutely anything that they want to. So we have to rely on people's experiences.
Yeah.
And the Philadelphia experiment, like, that's been going around since before these guys, because this was in, the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Or 70s, 80s, and 90s. But the Philadelphia experiment happened back in the 40s, and there's been talk of that ever since then.
I guess the only part of this whole thing that, like, I struggle with is the, like, guy who manifested the monster out of his head. What's his name? Duncan? Was that Duncan? He manifested the monster out of his brain.
Yeah. I mean, that does sound a bit science fiction.
Well, that's where I just, like, I mean, I guess you supposedly can manifest anything.
And they had machines and government. Who knows? I don't know. I don't buy all of it. But there are parts of it that I do buy.
I just know that there's so many things that happen in the world that I don't know. That I also saw a TikTok the other day that said that, I know, that we're drinking Kim Crawford wine. Whoopsie.
Oops.
We had to make a little switcheroo. It's so good if you haven't had.
It's not always about the soup.
No. Sometimes you have to have a crisp glass of Sauvignon Blanc.
And it is.
It's my favorite.
Wonderful.
But that conspiracy theories used to be conspiracy theories for people who are like losing their minds about crazy things and whatever. And now conspiracy theorists are more actually critical thinkers. To an extent. Right. There's a scale, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a scale. Yeah. We're more critical thinking conspiracy side.
What is it? I don't know if you have to cut this, but not all conspiracy theorists are loonies, but all loonies are conspiracy theorists.
I'll take it. Wait, does that mean all lunatics? Loonies, lunatic? Isn't that essentially what that is?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. That adds up.
I mean, it does.
I'm not cutting that either.
So what are we?
That adds up.
What are we then?
Lunatics.
Well,
fuck. What do you mean? What are we?
I don't know. I just backed myself into a corner.
I feel like we have thoughts about conspiracy theories, but we also know that that things can be crazy. I also know that I'm gullible.
Are you?
Mm-mm. She is.
I love learning about conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's little snippets of truth throughout. Mm-hmm. Do I believe that there are other dimensions? Yes. Do I believe that the government knows about it? Yes. Time travel? In certain respects, yes, but I'm not fully there yet because my brain can't wrap around it.
Yeah, I think I believe more than you do in time travel, but I also agree with you that it's very hard for my brain to even comprehend it. So it's hard to
because there's too many variables.
Yeah. But I also feel like time travel could also be like time traveling on a different plane so that you're not in the same like almost dimension that we currently are, that there's multiple planes.
So then it's just different interdimensional travel.
Yeah, and we're like interdimensional travel, but you're still in this Earth setting, if that makes sense.
Speaking of other dimensions, the whole why can't I ever think of the name? The whole eclipse coming up on April 8th. CERN is firing back up on April 8th. I think I sent that to you.
Shoot, do we have time to do a mini episode on April 8th? Because I almost feel like we should.
Yeah, we can do that. That would be a good one to
I feel like if we drop a mini-sode, because I don't know, April 8th freaks me out. Not going to lie.
We got to do just our...
Sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Maybe with tinfoil hats this time.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I like our tinfoil hats.
So that's the Montauk Project. There are, you can find out more information about the players involved. But
there are some more sinister things that we decided to
cut.
But about one of the main guy who ran it.
Yeah.
And about the children involved, which if you want to look more into it, that's up to you. We just decided not to cover that part because...
I just don't want to.
It's more, it's not good.
Yeah, you can go look that up on your own. I still think that when you put the Philadelphia experiment into play, there's much more than that one player in the game.
Right. There's a lot more that comes out. So, that was creepy. That's weird. I don't like it, but I do at the same time.
I mean, it's another conspiracy theory. If you have a conspiracy theory you want us to go through, go over, cover, let us know.
As long as Vecna's not running the streets.
But the actor that plays Vecna, have you seen him?
No. Would I think he saw it?
Probably not.
Okay, well.
We have very different tastes.
We do. Does he have muscles? Vecna he's like the muscly, like...
I'll show you a picture. I mean, we all know that my favorite person in Stranger Things you think is absolutely horrific.
Eddie.
I love Eddie.
I know you do. He's just not my favorite.
It's his personality.
I get it. It is all about personality. It just by looks, he's not my cup of tea, if you will.
That's okay. Jamie Campbell Bower. He plays Vecna.
Absolutely not. He looks like a baby. He's like a little boy.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. He's
Whatever.
also in Twilight.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
I saw the picture right before I said it, and then I saw it. I'm like, no, he's one of the. Is it Asteri? Am I?
No, it's not Asteri.
That's
Akatar. He's one of these people with the eyes.
What are they called? The
Volturi.
Asteri, Volturi, whatever. Whatever. Fucking same thing. They're evil.
He's also like he was a little boy, and he was Sweeney Todd's messenger,
like the one, like the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it. It was just a long time ago.
Meat pies. Yep.
Meat pies.
Meat pies.
I thought you said mate pies.
Ew.
I don't know. All right, you guys. Well, you know where you can find us on all the socials.
Lunatic Soup Podcast at Let me try that one again.
Whoa. It's the end of an episode, guys.
Lunatic Soup Podcast at gmail.com.
Lunatic Soup Podcast on all of the social medias.
You said that.
I did.
Podcast.com. And write us in. Let us know if you have anything you want us to cover. I've got some aliens coming up. We've got some spooky stories. I have a Great Lakes episode coming up. Cryptid campfires.
Next is cryptid campfires, I think. Yeah, we're going to do one of those. And, just make sure you get yourself some lunatic soup and make sure you put a tinfoil hat on April 8th.
Yeah, we're going to check in with you guys.
Yeah, if you want that. This is coming out on Thursday. So you're listening to this on Thursday, hopefully. But hopefully by Sunday, we'll have a...
Oh my gosh, it's already April.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that wild?
So next Monday. So if we are all here 1 week from this recording session right this minute... We made it, guys. It'll be April 9th.
Did I just order a crank and solar power radio, flashlight, and charging portal off of Amazon?
Send me the links, because did I just go to Costco and stock up on pet food and meats and make sure the generator's working?
Uh-huh.
I am not a conspiracy theorist, guys. But you know who was totally fine when COVID hit? That would be me.
I wasn't, but I also was smart and I ordered everything off Amazon right away and I never ran out of shit.
Perfect.
I was on my A game.
Perfect.
All these dummies running out of stuff. I was over here like, psh, psh. Well, luckily I know where you live. We weren't friends during COVID, so now we are.
Oh, man.
All right.
Laugh right there.
Twas an evil one.
Twas.
All right.
Well, twins, whatever.
Twinning.
I can't talk right now. Guys, remember, in this crazy world,
it's good to be a lunatic.
Bye.
Bye.
If I'm already having trouble speaking, I mean,
it's not good for us.
It's not.